it's Gab, and I'm reviewing Red Dawn, which is a remake of a 1984 youth-centric action drama that is about a small American town. In this new one, it's a small Seattle town that is sort of out of the blue, seemingly, under siege and taken over by a foreign enemy force. In the original, in the 80s, of course, it was Russia. And in this one, the new enemy is North Korea. And in the original, it was the band of young people who fought back was headed up by the one and only Patrick Swayze. That role, for what it's worth. And this one is Chris Hemsworth of Thor fame, of course. And he has a younger brother, there are friends, there's some fellow townsfolk, all young, of course, who managed to get away. The older people don't fare so well. And they take off, and they very quickly form a sort of a guerrilla band that's going to fight back, sort of almost terrorist style, against these the North Koreans who have set up who've taken over their town in sort of a dictatorship type regime fashion. And there's a training montage that is absolutely laughable. After about 2 minutes, they're all fully aware of sort of military tactic and guerrilla warfare, and they've got their hands miraculously on amazing weaponry, and of course it's just ridiculous. And they form these little or not so little plans sort of out of the blue and immediately put them into action. I actually didn't get a sense of the timeline, which is one thing that was really bothering me, because everything seems to sort of happen in the span of a couple of days, and there's no holy crap, what's going on, and we gotta, figure out things and take a step back here and make sure our safety is secure before we start, going guerrilla. No, it was just, out of, within a night's sleep, they had it all, an arsenal and plans and all of this stuff. In the original, they hid out for months, and they were a lot more strategic and aware and tentative about what was going on until they really got their footing, so to speak. So the whole timeline in this was really wonky. The cast, other than Chris Hemsworth, he just carried the whole thing for me. I would have totally disengaged if it wasn't for him. The rest of them, I won't even mention, were quite throwaway. Tom Cruise's son's in there. The guy, I don't even know who played Chris Hemsworth's younger brother. It was just terrible. In the original, Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen is his younger brother, and they have quite a sort of older younger brother thing going on, and that's an important and somewhat stirring part of the story of the original, or the dynamic of the group. And this one, it was just, they tried and it didn't work. And the rest of the cast, and you could tell for sure who was going to die. The Expendables were so obvious. So there was some semi-decent action sequences, but you could see way better in like a million other movies. And I think part of the problem I have is that what doesn't translate about this story, it's not just that it's so far-fetched now, military-wise and politics-wise, what maybe you could have imagined in the 80s, maybe suspended your disbelief. It's really, really hard to imagine now with technology and warfare and global politics the way they are now. Would this ever happen? Could you even imagine this happening? I can't. But the other thing that just doesn't translate is I think now with other forms of entertainment, like with video games, first-person shooter and all those military video games like Black Ops, any kid can come home from school on a Tuesday and play out these sort of fantasies that the original Red Dawn movie sort of provided to a young audience, because it was kids fighting back, and that was kind of fresh, and that was kind of poignant. And now, kids reenact that and live it in their minds, in their entertainment lives, their fantasy worlds, all the time, and in a much better way. They can create more believable stories and warfare scenarios than I think this movie provides. So, in that sense, it's an epic fail. I don't know who the audience is for this film, because old school people like me just are going to lament that the original was so much better. It's classic. I don't know if you want to say classic, but certainly guilty pleasure classic. And the younger kids today, the younger generation, I think are going to laugh at this. There was a lot of laughter in the audience, a few intentional jokes, which I enjoyed, but very fleeting moments, and mostly unintentional guffaws. And the vibe in the theater was that this is crapola served up on a plate. This film is not going to do well, and I cannot recommend it except for an extreme guilty pleasure. And for that, rent it. Don't go to the movie theater. Please save your precious bucks. Lot more interesting movies coming out around about these times. But as always, thank you very much for watching me. Oh, Gabs. Two Gabs out of 5. Red Dawn.